Hello, everybody. It's me, Lemoni, and it's time. It's been a while, but it's time for Wacky Wednesday. I'm feeling better. I got something spicy cooked up for you, and I'm not gonna lie, this isn't for the boomers. All right, it's a high-paced, high AOE, high sustain, great for farming, killing elites, everything kind of build, and I'm gonna call it the Vampire Blender because you're doing some whirlwinding, you're healing a ton, and you're rolling around doing all kinds of fast, high-octane gameplay. This build is a ton of fun to play. Personally, one of my favorite builds in general is just using a spear, and this combos some really interesting styles of play. It gives you that self-sustain, that high damage, and it's different, right? And you can combo it with a lot of different weapons. Personally, I did the Rapier just for some extra survivability, some extra AOE capability, and the ability to PvP. This could be great in PvP, but it really shines as a solo farming PvE build, but it also would be great in a group setting if put into the right comp. But you can go into pretty much any elite zone, keep yourself alive. You can play a bunch of different ways, and we'll talk about that in the gearing section. I personally was playing in light armor for higher damage output, but you can really do whatever you feel best in. It's using an ability that does not get enough spotlight and is actually very, very strong, that being the whirlwind ability on the spear. Now, I wish it didn't have a knockback, but it gives you energy back. We have a heal component to it. It applies a CC so that we can constantly get Malachite damage. It's great, and we'll talk about all that, but I am loving it, and I'm glad to be back on Wacky Wednesday. Now, before we get into the video, I just want to say thank you all for the support. I appreciate every single one of you. If you want to connect with me, leave a comment. Join our Discord. It'll be linked. Send me a DM if you ever need anything. I've been a little slow to respond lately just because I've been sick, but I'm catching up on things. Next, follow the Twitch. We stream Monday, Wednesday, Friday, starting around 10 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. Central Time. So come join if you like this kind of content. Come hang out, ask me some questions. Follow the Twitter. Follow the TikTok, and if you want to join our company on Eden, feel free to send me a DM on Discord or in game. And we are Covenant, NA East Eden again. Just let me know. We're taking anybody that wants to game. We're really getting things going. We have a lot of 60s, so it's been a ton of fun doing some group content with them. Anyway, this build, the Vampire Blender, there's some things you can do to optimize it for more damage. There's ways to play it more tanky. There's ways to play it for more healing. I give you my best iteration of it, and obviously you can fine-tune this more to put out more damage, more healing, and be tankier in general, but I think it is a blast to play. It's great for leveling up your spear mastery or just doing some solo farming in PvE. Now, this build could work very well in a group setting for OPR in PvP too. But sit back, relax, and let's get into the build deep dive. Okay, so here we are on the spear setup, and if any of you are familiar with my hybrid life stat build, or maybe just my spear builds in general, it's going to be pretty much the same as that. I'm just going to drop Skewer out of it and pick up Cyclone. So we're going to start over on the zoner side, and we're going to take Deadly Consistency. There's some room to use this. Maybe you got a stun, maybe you're on a single target fight. You can spam heavy attacks and pump some pretty high damage with your spear, so that's a good one to take. And with that, we'll take Refreshing Reach to get that successful heavy attack reduction, 15% cooldown reduction there, because this is going to synergize really well with Sweep. And we're still going to take Sweep. One, just it's easy in an AoE environment, gives you more AoE control for this kind of farming build. So we'll take it, and then we'll love the grit on it because that stagger is a killer when you have a lot of mobs on you, so we need that grit. And then we'll go into Coup de Grace. And the reason we take Coup de Grace is because now it is a heavy stab. They updated it in 1.1.1, I think. And now this synergizes with Refreshing Reach. So let's say you're having a tough time. You know, your Cyclone maybe has 1 or 2 seconds after you get a little sweep synergy after using aggressive maneuvers. You can still Coup de Grace, and now you get another 15% reduction to get that Cyclone back online and keep your cycle going. So speaking of Cyclone, we'll then take Cyclone. This is going to do a spin attack, do a decent chunk of damage, but the big thing is it's going to apply 50% slow, meaning we can essentially maintain constant Malachite damage on our target, which is fantastic for us. We'll then take Invigorating Combo, and this is probably one of the strongest things I've ever used in AoE. Everybody's giving you 25 stam. You're rolling around constantly. I just don't stop rolling. Sure, there's times where you misroll and misjudge your stamina, so it's a little hard to keep the roll ability combo going. But if you have a ring with Hardy on, you basically will never run out of stamina ever. We'll then take Strong Momentum because that grit is OP. Now the thing to mention, especially with this build, is because we have grit active here and we have grit active here, we could take one of the new thwarting perks and get grit damage. So whenever we have active grit, we get a damage increase. Having that in this build would be really, really, really nice. I just couldn't fit it in there, but I'll mention that later. So that's about it on the zoner side, because the rest of the points we need so that we can hit exploited weakness. Now, the only other ability we're going to end up taking, and we're going to have to take every passive over here essentially, so that we can get down the ultimate, but we're going to be going into Vault Kick. So Vault Kick is really strong, Aggressive Maneuvers is really strong. We then take Exacerbating Crits because we don't want this bleed one. It's going to do nothing for us. We have to take Unerring Precision because why not? I mean, it's going to be better than bleed. At least we get something out of it. So only extra damage when they have active grit. And then Crippling Jabs. So a little bit of a slow here. So in general, we're having a 5% increased light chance. There's a great window to throw in a couple light jabs. And the reason being, we get some cooldown reduction on it as well. Maybe you just are a second or a half second away from getting another ability up so that you can keep your combo going. And you just have to throw in 2 light strikes. So then you'll go into Finishing Blows. Why not? A little built-in execute. But the real beautiful thing here is taking Aggressive Maneuvers. So what's happening is you roll, use an ability, 20% cooldown reduction. Roll, use an ability, 20% cooldown reduction. It's just easy, constant cooldown reduction. But the big thing is we take Vault Kick because this is going to give us another 30%, meaning when we hit a Vault Kick after rolling backwards or rolling to the side or whatever, it's 50% reduction on our cooldowns. Essentially, we just have constant Cyclones up all the time. All the time. And so you just keep cycloning, and then you roll sweep, and then you roll kick, and then you roll cyclone, and you just keep doing it, and just make sure every ability you do, you roll. Now, the other thing is we take exploited weakness. Now, with this build, it's hard to maintain 3 debuffs, especially when you're fighting a ton of different mobs and trying to keep constant cooldown usage on your spear. Something you could do is run like Tondo on a Rapier and just keep a bleed up. But in general, we have at least a 50% slow on pretty much constantly. So we get the Malachite bonus, we get this 10% damage bonus, and then if we get them with the slow and we kick them, we technically get a stun, so one ability will have another little chunk of damage. You could also take the coup de grace bleed, but it doesn't last very long. Again, it's hard to keep that, but why not take the little damage bonus when we can? So essentially this build is going to revolve around cooldown resets with Aggressive Maneuvers, using Cyclone and using the healing perk on Cyclone, and getting all of the stamina back to just roll through, keep CC, knock everybody back, but then keep regrouping them and AOE them down with that Cyclone. We sweep them for more AOE and just more control and some cooldown reduction. And Vault Kick, you can hit multiple targets with it, keep them CC to line up really nice Whirlwind Cyclone combos, and just go to town. So if you're coming from the bookmark, this build synergizes around cooldown reduction, and we are just maintaining a ton of AoE control. You'll take these 3 abilities, and you should pop off. There's a ton of built-in cooldown, ton of built-in damage, and the amount of leech you get from running this Cyclone perk with some of the leeching perks on weapon and ring is insane. I'm healing per target, sometimes 800 to 1,000 healing per target, and it is absurd. All right, and the secondary I would suggest to combo with this is the Rapier. With a build with a spear where you're doing heavy cooldown reset, there's not a lot of room to switch weapons. So you want something that, you can pull out and save your life. And going into the Grace side, like I do for PvP in healing, it gives you so much survivability, whether you evade or spin away or you riposte somebody. Riposte can save your life and stun multiple targets. You can use this stuff for mobility and just getting out of the fight. Now I'm going to give you 2 options. One that's more of a survivability and PvP setup, so you could use this in OPRs, but then I'll also give you a PvE version that applies another debuff. So first, I would just suggest the kind of heavy mobility CC build that will allow you to dive in and out of fights as you need to, as you have Cyclones and other cooldowns up. It's basically just full Grace, so we'll go into all these points. We don't have to talk about every single one of them, but the big one too is like landing riposte so that you can get more cooldown reduction to reset this stuff. But the other really nice one is taking this spin, because what we can do is we can spin, and if we get a killing blow, we can spin back. And if we get another killing blow, we can keep doing this back and forth because it gives you 80% cooldown reduction. I'll take 3 stamina on any hit. Critical strikes reduce all cooldowns by 5%. We'll take swiftness, and we'll take that ultimate. I don't tend to hit these 2, and I'll go for these. Now you have the option. Do you want to take backside? Do you want to take perfectionist? I would actually take backside and then just take interruption, because you can actually spin through people and then click the light attack and flick your camera like a 180 and do a free 115 damage attack that hits pretty hard. Now, if I was going to do more of a PvE heavy build, I would drop Riposte, and I would just go into Tondo, take the bleed damage, take this, and I would probably take this. And why I would take this is because you can quickly switch right back to Tondo, apply a 12-second bleed so that you have another debuff applied for extra spear damage, meaning we can sit at about 20% constantly, and then switch back, right? So I just take Riposte for the back pocket. It's a little hard sometimes if you switch back and forth to Tondo, but this would be a heavy PvE. If I was just doing some single target, I wasn't in the open world maybe running this, but this would be even great in heavy AOE packs because you can Tondo every single thing. So if you want to run PvE, do this kind of setup. Now, if you're coming from the bookmark, I would say you can do two things. You can either run a Rapier with some CC, some mobility to get out of things, PvP more, or just have this so you don't have to weapon swap and you can just focus on cooldown resets. Or if you want a higher damage PvE setup, you can go Tondo, take 5% bleed damage, thirst for blood, and then just take and again, and there you go. And you have some bleed so that you have another debuff for your spear damage and just some other constant damage sources, and keep stacking your Tondo as you can. If you can get that 3 stack, it would be fantastic. All right, everybody, it's time for gearing and attributes, your favorite thing. So here are my attributes I'm running. Ideally, we wouldn't have any strength in this build. It's just how I had to fit it in with the perks I really wanted to try out. But we want at least 300 dex so that we can force crits every 10 seconds. That's great for Whirlwind, just extra damage, extra healing. This 10% bonus crit hit damage, more healing again, more damage. We have bonus backstab damage. We have the dodges cost 10 less stamina. This is absolutely crucial with how much we're rolling around. And then thrust damage if we want to get some spear shots in really quick, heavy attack, light attack, whatever. And this 5% chance to crit is really, really nice as well. Now, I will suggest running a 100 con setup in light armor at least, even if you're medium, heavy, whatever. I'll say at least have 100 con. This puts you at a good enough health spot. Having 9.4k health in light armor still let me take on a bunch of level 63 elites, as you saw in the videos, and you'll still see. And I felt like I was in a really, really good spot in terms of health. So either do that, or if you're feeling really, really ballsy, you could play 50, maybe pump up the damage more, see what you can do. But ideally, I wouldn't have any strength in this setup just to give me pure spear and rapier scaling and just pump the dex or give yourself some extra con. If you're a little bit worried, maybe you're not sure if you're going to be able to pull it off in light armor, maybe you want to change armor, or maybe you could add more con too. So as far as gearing goes now, I will say I played this in light and it was a ton of fun in light. I'm kind of having this weird soft spot for light armor nowadays, and you'll see me doing more light armor stuff I think in the future. But you want to be maybe tankier but still have higher damage output, definitely go medium. And you'll see that the CC debuffs you apply are 10% longer in medium. So that would apply to the slow you put on. And then in heavy, if you're really worried about it, you know, you're not as finessey, you're not loving the light armor, you could run heavy. But I would be afraid this build wouldn't work very well in a heavy loadout. So I would really highly recommend playing it in light or playing it in medium. You need a little bit of mobility. So as far as gearing goes, all this gear I have is either Dex or Dex Con, whatever it is. But the biggest perk to get is Leeching Cyclone. I have no other spear perks. I have no other rapier perks. Sure, I'm sure there's some things you could grab to really finesse it. But as far as gearing goes, you want Leeching Cyclone on a piece of gear. Then for the rest of your perks, you could go, you know, aversions, you could go resilient, you could go luck, what if you're trying to farm. Anything else you could go refreshing if you can fit it, any of the cooldown reductions, but you need a Leeching Cyclone. What this does is every hit of your Cyclone, so if I pull 10 things, all 10 of them, if I hit them, give me a 30% of my weapon damage heal. It's insane. It's just insane. So you hit them that hard, you get all these heals, they stack up. You can 0 to 100 your own health bar if you're in these high AOE situations. As far as my jewelry goes, I always suggest have something with health on it at least if you're going to run it. Again, I pick up a lot of just random gear making these builds. I don't super fine tune them. I want to get them out to you, and I want to let all of you do the rest of the fine tuning and show me what you can do with them. Now, the last big thing though is on your ring. I was running a hardy ring and it was a ton of fun. I was just running this one. I had it spare. Running that hardy is a blast because you can roll so much more without having to worry about your stamina bar going below 100 or below 0 so that you run out of stamina, you can't roll. But what I will say is leeching does a lot. right? I originally did this without leeching and without life stealing on the weapon, and I thought about it. I mean, this is giving me almost another 10% more healing on top of the cyclone healing, and it is insane. And then of course I have old ill-gotten gain. I'm gonna recraft all kinds of new jewelry this week. We're working on some things. We pulled some interesting stuff like this blessed void gauntlet that's 600, but for jewelry purposes, you know, the typical jewelry things, just really focus on maybe health on the neck and leeching on your ring. As far as weapons go, you're gonna want double malachites. That's what I was doing because we're gonna have a slow. We have ways to CC, so that's just constant 12% damage on these AOE targets. It's beautiful. Both of my weapons have dex. I have strength on here because this is the only one I could get with a good life stealing combo. I comboed it with vicious. That vicious gives you more damage output, more healing in general. And then on our rapier, it's just another solid one that I can use if I need to maybe, you know, throw a Tondo out or do a little dash to do some AoE, whatever you need. But again, malachites are important. And then on the spear, you're going to want more life stealing to self-sustain yourself and really pull tons of packs. Then what else can you do to really excel in this AoE farm? Honing stones. I'm a big honing stone advocate. Use a buff food. My buffs were set up with a 30 con food on, so make sure you get a food. Foods are so crucial. You throw on a food buff and you can just hit another free bubble, and that's 30 more points you can throw into something else for more damage, or you know, vice versa, whatever you want. And then last thing, make sure you're using coatings. You could throw on a quick coating for whatever you're going to farm or whatever you're going to kill, and it's a lot of extra damage, people. Like, don't underestimate that, especially in these AoE farming builds. It makes your life much easier. All right, as is tradition, let's show a little bit of gameplay. You'll see here I'm stacking up as many mobs as I possibly can. And I want to preface this, I know I could have done like double this technically. This build is better as you add more mobs. You will struggle a little bit in a 1v1 just trying to spam Cyclone, but as you add more, you'll get more hits, more healing. It's easier to do resets. You'll have some kind of, you know, close calls, but you'll be able to heal yourself up pretty well. You'll see sometimes I'm hitting 2k heals, you know, 800 to 500 healing if it misses, but I can burst my health bar up really high. So that means as I have more targets around me, I'm just going to heal for more. But you'll see the rotation is dash, whirlwind, dash, kick, dash, sweep, dash, cyclone, right? I say whirlwind, but dash, sweep, and then coup de grace as I can. Throw in light attacks as you can if your cooldowns aren't up. I didn't really have that problem in this encounter. I took on like 8 mobs at once. They're all 63 elites, and some of them have a lot more health than the normal ones. But the big thing is making sure you use your vault kick when your cyclone has a longer cooldown still. You don't want to use it when it maybe has 1 to 2 seconds. Prioritize using sweep if it's in that maybe 1 to 3 second window. But if it's anything over that, that's when you want to have those vault kicks. That'll auto reset it. The cyclone hits really hard sometimes, especially when you force those crits. You maybe have the slow on them already, hit them with a vault kick so they have double debuff. You can get like 4 to 5k cyclone hits, I'm sure, especially if you're properly optimized for this kind of setup. If you had like a best in slot cyclone build, you could really be doing some damage. Now, the other thing I want to note is it does excel in single target. While I didn't show you some testing, you can do like a heavy attack spam spear build, you know, apply slows on things. You have great AoE built in. And like I was saying, just take Tondo, right? Take Tondo, you'll apply a bleed, you'll have that constantly ticking, get that up to 3 stacks, does good damage, and then you have another debuff, and you can just do heavy attack spam on the spear and do some crazy stuff. It would be really strong. And then if you start adding in more perks like the thwarting ones, you're going to do even more damage. But I thought this was the best display of gameplay for how good this build can be. All right, so I hope you enjoyed our Wacky Wednesday for, I don't know, what do we want to call it? The healing blender, the leech, the vampire blender. I don't know what we're going to call it yet. But regardless, it was a ton of fun to play. I will highly suggest playing it. Spear is one of those ones that just is really near and dear to my heart, and I really enjoy playing. So I would say give it a shot. If you're bored, you want to try something new, that's what Wacky Wednesday's for. Give it a shot. It's a ton of fun. Grind up your spear. It's a good way to do that. Do some solo farming, get some loot, but let me know how it works for you. So as always, if you want to connect with me, feel free to leave a comment. I'll respond to you. Hit me up in Discord. Join the Discord that's linked DM me at any time. I will give you a response. I want to talk about it. If you want to talk about builds, advice, want to get in the company, let me know. Join our company. We're on NA East Eden or Covenant. Just send me a DM again and I can get you in the company, or talk to an officer in Discord. Follow the Twitch. We stream. We'll be streaming today, Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 10 to 10:30 a.m. Central Time. Follow the Twitter, the TikTok, all those socials. But again, I just appreciate every single one of you just for watching this video. If you want to support me directly, feel free to hit up my Patreon. I do early video releases. I ask for input, kind of just pick everybody's brains, see what they have to say. So, as always, thank you to all of my Patreons. Thank you, Jacob Thuggius, Shane Gill, Anarino Ajuro, Nathaniel Thonar, Joseph Tarvey, Generic Guy, Ronan Ralph, Bob, Florian, Blue Beagle, GDBJ Kitchens, Dexter, Rich, Rob, Josh, Michelle, Nade, Rich, and Peter. Thank you all for your support, but thank you to every single one of you just for watching. As always, keep doing that weird YouTube stuff. Like, comment, subscribe, tell your grandma, your grandpa, everybody you know. I'd appreciate it. But thank you all for watching. Thank you for listening. And thank you, every single one of you, for being you.